Welcome to the Self-Reflections podcast with Klaudia Gebert, where real reflections are shared by real people.
I'm joined by an incredible, inspiring guest, Dwayne Morton, all the way from Kentucky, USA. Dwayne is a former international basketball player turned motivational speaker and mental performance coach, helping athletes sharpen their mindset and achieve greatness on both on and off the field. But what makes Dwayne's story truly remarkable are the obstacles he has faced and overcome with resilience, faith, and authenticity. After 18 years of being misdiagnosed with a rare blood cancer, he finally received clarity last year. And if it wasn't enough, 2.5 years ago, he found himself caught in the crossfire of a police shooting as a bystander. Despite these life-altering challenges, Dwayne has emerged stronger with a powerful message of hope and perseverance. In this episode, we'll dive into his journey, how he's maintained his faith and authenticity through adversity, his approach to mental performance, and the lessons he's learned along the way. Let's welcome Dwayne to the Self-Reflections podcast. Hi, Dwayne. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode.
Hello, Klaudia. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your listeners for whatever the day or night, whenever you're listening. Thank you so much for giving me the time, but also, Klaudia, thanks for the platform.
Of course. Dwayne, to kick us off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey from what was originally being an international basketball player to kind of moving through and becoming what you do today?
Yeah, absolutely. So at 19 years old, I was a former international basketball player. Now, I went a different path. Like most people go through high school and then go to college, go to play overseas. I didn't. I went pretty much straight from high school. And I didn't play my last 2 years. I didn't play my junior or senior year. So a really odd path for athletics. And there is some remarkable part of that story. That's actually where I learned my foundation for gratitude, like really strong foundation. And this is actually something that has catapulted me through some of the challenges that I have. And so I met a little boy who was 5 years old. He had not eaten in 3 days. And so for me, that broke my heart, but it made me realize that other people are going through worse. And so you'll hear this part of this story when I'm going through my challenges, I'm pulling from that moment. So my basketball career, it ends really quick. I was getting ready to actually go play probably in Australia. It was one of the teams that we were talking with. The agent was, at least. And I hurt my knee. Career ending. It was just the surgery didn't go well. And so again, another setback, right? And you're going to hear this setback after setback. And then at 29, I was diagnosed with a rare blood cancer. And so it rocked my world. But like I knew other people had it worse. And also, usually whatever our nightmare is usually someone else's dream. And so I had that type of mindset. And then, 3 years ago, it will be May, it actually be 3 years ago, I was involved in that police shooting. And so I was dealing with survivor's guilt and PTSD. And so I was dealing with those mental health stuff. And through the diagnosis, they only gave me 5 years. And so
through the cancer diagnosis?
Through the cancer diagnosis. And so they gave me 5 years originally. And my brother just brought this up because for some reason, I thought it was 15 later on. Like it got moved to 15. And so when the shooting happened, I was like, okay, hold on a second. Why did this part happen? And the circumstances of how, so the bullet, if it would have been 1/8 of an inch to the left, it would have killed me. If it would have been 1/8 of an inch to the right, it would have got my little niece who was 3 years old at the time. And so, yeah, exactly. And so then March of 2024, I find out I'm misdiagnosed. And all I have is sleep apnea. All I have is severe sleep apnea. So I could have been healed in 2006 in probably a month or two. And so, yeah, that's part of the story. So the other part, Klaudia, is like, I decided I wasn't going to have a wife. I wasn't going to have a family because I felt like I didn't want anyone else to carry my burden. And so when I found out I was misdiagnosed, that was like, oh, wow, my life could have changed dramatically. And so,
Dwayne, what was your life like before your career starting into getting into basketball and starting to get, I guess, international. So what were you like as a young child? Was there resilience there for you? Was there confidence there for you? Or do you feel that slowly started to build only later as more as more challenge after challenge after challenge kind of hit you one after another?
Great question. So the resiliency started when I was a little kid. I started shooting basketball at 4 years old at a 10-foot rim. So like they didn't have where they lower the rim. It was just out in the backyard at my grandparents. And so at my grandpa and my grandma's, I would go and I would just try to throw the ball and hit the net. And then it gradually went to the rim. And then the rim was like, it might go in every now and then. And then it started going in more and more. And so that's really how I felt like my resiliency kind of started. And my basketball career was like, I was tall, so I always played like a big, but I was a skinny kid. So I wasn't really built to be a big. And so as any boy, we had dreams, or anybody, right? I live in Kentucky. The big thing for us is basketball. And so I was wanting to, I had college aspirations, not really, I wasn't thinking about professional or anything like that at the time. But as you know, through our childhood, we get where other people take away our dreams. And so through that, my dreams were taken away and stolen just like anybody else. And so it was just like all through the years, like I would make it and then I wouldn't. I'd make the team. So I was good enough to make the team, but I wasn't like always like, I wasn't starting. That's the other thing. I wasn't like the star, not at all. And so resiliency to me is like, I overachieved. Like there was years that probably a lot of people wouldn't even pick me to probably made the team. And so that basketball part was just, I started working harder. And here's the other kicker is I quit basketball my junior year. I gave up the thing I loved the most. My grandma passed away. And I didn't know how to deal with death. And so I was like, man, I'm done with this. Like, I'm not happy. I'm sad. Like, I just don't care. And so I quit basketball, really the only thing I loved. But what happened was I practiced more and I got better. And that's actually how I taught myself how to do visualization. I didn't know what that was. I remember when I learned how to type, like with the keyboard, I would see the words like on the TV and then I would type them. Like I'd visualize the words and stuff like that. So I didn't know. I just became a really good typer. So one day after just playing basketball by myself, I came inside. My knees were hurting. I put ice on both knees and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I don't remember if the TV wasn't on or something. And I just started thinking about what if I do the drill in my mind? Like maybe I get something out of it, right? So I did that. And I didn't realize I was getting the confidence and experience. So those last 2 years, I got the confidence and experience of doing the drills twice. And also, as you do visualization, you're also hitting everything. So that was really where all this kind of hit. And so I went back out my senior year. So I didn't play my junior year. I went back out for the team in my senior year. I got cut because I got labeled a quitter. And in my head, I was like, screw this. I'm never going to quit again. And that's where the resiliency was born.
Yeah. Wow. Even just as you were describing that, being able to, in that moment, even though you love something so much, when grief hits and we're having to process grief, even as a young man or young adolescent man, really being able to take a step back from something that you love to give yourself the space and the time to process and deal with emotions, whether you knew it at the time, that's exactly what we actually need to be doing more times than not, allowing ourselves the space, the compassion, and the process of not having distractions to sit with the sadness, sit with the loss, sit with the grief. And it's interesting that you've identified there that the way that you then showed up for something you were passionate for came more from the heart rather than something that you were actually just, I wouldn't say forced to do, but it started to become a little bit more structured because of the expectations required of you as part of a team, as part of being coached, and so forth and so on. So even as you were describing that, I was really connecting to, as a child, you making these choices without realizing how these choices that are so beneficial to our ability to then help process and work through some really challenging things. And I love the way that you also were able to say something that we don't often know is so powerful, sitting with and visualizing an example of something that we want to achieve, or we want to heal, or that. And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it a lot in some of his research and his own personal journey. But visualization is such a strong and powerful tool, because it actually creates not only changes in our mindset, changes in our confidence and emotional being, but even at our genetic level, it changes our genes to be able to then create exactly what it is that we are visualizing. So thank you so much for sharing that. I thought that was actually quite powerful.
Yeah, so absolutely. And so I didn't learn that from a book. I just learned it. And that's what it was like when you're able to learn it, something, and you learned it, that's the thing is like, and then I found out later on, because I wanted to be a sports psychologist, what it actually meant. And I was reading a book and I was like, that's really, really strange that like I was doing this and I didn't know that impact. The other thing that you brought up is as a kid, we love stuff so much sometimes, and people take that stuff away, and that love, and like the structure of the game was not fun. I quit having fun, and so it took me to quit to be able to realize how much I actually really truly loved it. That's the other
and
aspect
how
I would say.
And how something like that can actually be really enjoyable and lovable. I have so many clients that are participating in so many different sports, and there is the love of the game, but there's so much extra components to it that then brings so much pressure and doubt. Is that what you experienced as well because of the structure?
I did, but I do want to say like the big turning point for me in this story of just my life in general was I was missing something and I was able to find it. And when I say that is like I started finding my spiritual self and I didn't know what that was. That was the other aspect I was going to say is like that's when I started going to church. That's when I started playing basketball with my friends that were in church. And then I realized like, well, I actually like enjoying myself. So like the enjoyment part I really didn't have. Because everything was structured, everything was hard, it was practice. It was not, and also look at it this way: I didn't have the attention. I was always on the side, so I didn't know if I was good or not. That was the thing, and so I feel like finding God, however anyone wants to say it, like for me, it was becoming a believer and to be like there is a higher purpose of everything, and I was not aware. It gave me something. It gave me that purpose to play for. It gave me a platform. And then that's how I got overseas is I joined a basketball team that was a mission trip. And so it was always a bigger purpose than just me. So when I woke up for the 5 a.m. trainings, it came from the inside. It was actually inspiration rather than a motivation.
No, absolutely. And when we have intrinsic motivation, we can achieve so much more. And the experience of what we're engaging in fills us with so much more, like from the depths of the soul. You know, I think when we're doing things just for validation or because we think we should or have to, yeah, motivation diminishes very quickly.
Absolutely.
Dwayne, you were misdiagnosed for 18 years with a rare blood cancer that was only discovered not to even be present last year. How did this prolonged misdiagnosis affect your mental, emotional, or physical health over the years?
So, Klaudia, it's a great question. Yeah, man. So I didn't allow it to break me. Also, I had a really strong mindset. I tell this to people all the time is like, I knew the mental stuff. The first few years, I was like, I can beat this. Then so I got diagnosed in 2006. 2010, I was like, man, maybe I need to be more content. Like maybe I just need to find something else. Quit worrying about not being able to work out, being able to run, play basketball. Like, let's just try to minimize this as much and be content. So for me, I lost my job. I got fired the day after that. I got stretchered out of the insurance company, the business that I was in. I got stretchered out. I couldn't see the screen on a computer. Couldn't see the computer screen, and I was like, "Oh, hey, like y'all need to get me some help." Like I thought I was having a heart attack or stroke, and so anyway, I ended up getting fired. Like so, it's kind of I know it's weird, extremely weird, but it actually was very freeing. That's the other thing. And I worked on my mindset even during that time, but what I didn't understand is like I needed to be still. I needed to be like to create some type of momentum. I needed to make a movement. And so this is actually part of a really, really big part of my journey, Klaudia, is I did marketing for 15 years, like online and digital marketing. And so there was this other part of me that like was birthed after I like was dealing with it. But every time that I was getting ready to actually make that step ahead or like actually get to, let's not say thrive, for sure, not thrive, but just be over to get over the hump, something would be I would get sick. I would face another setback. And it was like, it's just not your time is what and I was like, if I could just be healthy, what could I accomplish? And so my mindset was always like, if I was healthy, what could I have done with this opportunity? If I was healthy, what could I do with this opportunity? So Klaudia, through that, I would meet all these wonderful people that I would network with. And I was always like, wow, what could I have done with this connection? What could I have done with this? I met women that I was like, oh, I could actually like, I could see myself like, but I was like, I'd already made that decision a few years ago. And I was like, I would not even entertain the idea of like dating. I was just like, nope, like I'm good. Like, and so I think through this 18 years, there was so many struggles, but what they did was they allowed me to be that onion and you took layers off. And it like prepared me to now. The mindset part. So I felt like I hit rock bottom, but I probably never really did hit rock bottom because I never got suicidal. That's the other thing I wanted to make very, very clear. I knew I was meant to do really big things. I didn't know how. And as a kid, God bless my mom and my aunt, but they would always tell me I was special. Here's the thing, Klaudia. I believed it. I truly believed it. But I could not figure out how I was supposed to fulfill my purpose. And so through this, God was preparing me for this moment that I'm able to talk to you right now. Like all of that struggle, all the things I had to overcome. And this just happened a few months ago. Like, I don't want people to think like, hey, I had this figured out, because I did not. I thought things happened to me. I had a very victim mentality. And then I felt like in November, I was like, man, these things are like actually happening for me, because guess what? I couldn't have gotten to here anyway if I wanted to, and meet like amazing people like yourself. And, I got to meet Eric Thomas in May over Zoom. There was just all these different levels. And I was like, I could probably never have gotten that on my own. But then I thought about, I had a very, very big mentor of mine who I'll talk about. Her name was Victoria Rader, and she said, Dwayne, things happen through you. She was like, things happen so you can serve. She was like, think of all the impacts you're going to have on people because you were chosen to have these things happen to you so other people could learn, and you're strong enough to be able to take it. You're strong enough to overcome it. And so when you look at it that way, I always felt like there was something way bigger. I just needed to worry about like showing up. And when I got my health back, that's where Show Up to Win really began. So my program is Show Up to Win, but like my mindset of Show Up to Win, show up with intention.
And Dwayne, I think when we are on the other end, and I don't mean at the finish line, because I think when we look at progress or recovery or our journey is ongoing. But when we're on the other end of a challenge or shedding or growth in a segment of our time, we we very much can say these things in a really powerful way because we have what's called hindsight. And I want to normalize it for our community who might still be very stuck in the darkness of what they're going through, that might not yet connect to this really, really deep appreciation that yes, things do happen and they are things that are for your own growth and development. And because I do work with a lot of trauma, and so many of my guests, as well as so many of my clients, have experienced some excruciating things, we do want to create a balance between our nurturance of that and the time that it takes to work through that, to then the time where it feels very natural for us to see whatever has happened in whatever capacity as a stone for us to put in the journey that we walk on in life. And I always like to bring that back because in our expression of struggles and in our expression of where we are today and how it is possible, I also want to always bring it back. And I'm sure you would have felt in the darkest moments that this is horrible and this is challenging, and how am I ever going to get through it? And I like that you kind of identified that we can flip into a victim mentality. We all do. I know I often do. And it's hard to pull yourself back out of that. And we also want to appreciate that when really rough things happen, it's okay to sit in that for as long as you need. And there is also gentle pathways to work through it in a healing type of manner. And I love that you've been able to connect with not only people, but messages and through your faith as well, that helped you get to that mindset a little bit quicker, where you've been able to connect to those messages, even from what you've mentioned about your mum and your aunt. The fact that there was a narrative that was regularly given to you that helped this strength grow and grow and grow. And it's interesting how valuable things like that are. And I want to highlight as well to our listeners or our community, if you don't have people like that are instilling messages or a narrative to help you work through and build that self-confidence and drive, find them. Please, I encourage you to find them, because when we surround ourselves with negativity and derogatory comments and people who just reinforce this sense of defectiveness within us, we find ourselves so stuck. And I love that you've been able to identify these little moments and people and comments that really made a difference in shaping your own mindset. Did it happen overnight? Absolutely not. But did it help then the development of it over time? Yes, it did.
So one of the cool things is like, I actually have a program like as a free PDF. This is how I did it. And it's called Dwayne's Daily Plan of Attack. I focus on 4 things, okay? These 4 things. I wake up every morning and I thank God for waking me up. So the first step I do every day is gratitude. Number 2, played a lot of basketball. I got beat up, so I stretch. I stretch while I'm in my bed. I just make sure that like everything's good, okay? So the second step is going to be self-care, okay? So number 2, self-care. So I feel like this is probably the biggest step outside of gratitude, movement. So movement, I took a runner's mentality. Now, there's parts of this story where I was looking back. I was trying to run while I was looking back. As you know, if you run, you're not going to get very far if your head's turned. You're also going to get depressed because you're looking back. You're being sad about all the things that the hindsight stuff, okay? The other thing is I would get anxious because I was thinking about what lied ahead. But here's the thing is, as a runner, like I love to run, you don't really know the destination. You have to pick a direction first. And so, but that movement part, so I take a runner's mentality, I'm running, and all I'm focusing on is left foot, right foot. So my very first thing out of my bed, I take these 2 big steps, one with my left foot, one with my right foot. And so the reason I do that was I have 2 bad knees. I've had knee surgery on both knees. The beautiful part about this is step 4. It's called adaptability. So when you run and you're not looking far ahead, you're not looking in the back, You're just staying in that present moment, what we call the gift, right? But as you know, through manifestation, like that's the secret sauce is the presence or the present. Sorry. But here's the thing is life happens. I got diagnosed. It was a pothole. Think about when you run, you're always having to swerve. So I was having to move left or right, but I still was on the path. And like I tell people all the time, I'm running a marathon and I'm like, I just started mile 2. So I haven't even really got started. Like I've have all these things that like I'm getting, and I have this like team that I've assembled. I just haven't put it all together to this one package yet. But that is what I'm able to give to people. But it's Dwayne's daily plan of attack, because as you know, as any coach or we have to have our signature program, and Dwayne Johnson has about everything already wrapped up. But like for me, this is mine. So that is Dwayne's daily plan of attack is gratitude, self-care, movement, adaptability.
Thank you for sharing that, Dwayne. That's very simple, but very much pivotal for just the basic foundations of mental wellness and strength, inner strength or mental strength, I think. So I will definitely be putting links down below for that our community can connect with and download for free. So thank you so much for sharing. Tell me a little bit about the journey when you were diagnosed. How was your navigation through receiving support through the medical model? How was it then getting to the point of learning it was misdiagnosed? How was that for you emotionally and psychologically? Because that's a very long time to be misdiagnosed for, and then getting told that actually it wasn't a rare blood cancer.
Yeah, so I felt I was put in a box and I was never letting out. Like there was a test I took that they should have like let me out probably 8-9 years ago. So just to let you know how the whole find out how I was misdiagnosed, I was supposed to have went a week before. Like I showed up to the doctor. We had a new doctor. My doctor had moved to Chicago. So as you know, with the American healthcare system's a little different, but like I had to wait and meet with this doctor before I was able to like get my treatment. First of all, I didn't take any pharmaceuticals. It was just bloodletting is what my blood treatment. So phlebotomies. So probably it would have killed me if I would have took that stuff. That's the other aspect. So God protected me in that aspect. So I was actually really upset at the new doctor, because I was like, man, I really need this treatment. And so I was always told if I let my blood get too thick, like it put me at more risk of like a stroke or a heart attack. So I was stressed out. I go a week later and I'm like I am going to give this doctor a piece of my mind. This doctor walks in. He said, this is going to be kind of hard for me, and it's going to be really hard for you. And I was like, how is this going to be hard for this guy? And he was like, dude, I don't feel like you have this. He's like, I feel like you have either COPD or sleep apnea. He's like, do you smoke? I was like, man, I've never smoked a day in my life, ever. Never had a cigarette, never. So he was like, then you just need to go to your... So he released me. That's the other thing. He released me on March 8th. My birthday is March 12th. Happy birthday to me. But this is the part where my faith, this is where I'm like, this is the transparent, like super, completely honest. Like when he told me, I was like, are you sure? So I was granted a miracle. God healed me. And my first thing was, are you sure? My legs got weak. I was trying to figure it out. I was like, whoa, hold on. How could I be misdiagnosed? Like, that makes no sense. I go talk to a friend of mine at the reception desk. I tell her, because I'm like, I'm trying to keep my composure, but I'm also like, my legs are still weak. And I'm telling her, and I was like, I just wish I could see some type of documentation so I could wrap my head about it. I'm driving home. She calls me. Hey, if you come back to the office, this doctor has printed off some material. Okay, cool. Go back. And I'm sitting there reading this stuff as I'm driving, kind of just scanning it. And like, I get home and I'm like, I go tell my parents, I'm like, listen, this is insane, but like, this is what happened. And we were just all in shock. But as anyone, we were like, we want a second opinion. And I was like, I'm good with this. But we went ahead and did some checks. But like, I went ahead and was like, hey, I went ahead. So I never have been back to an oncologist since. Go ahead and tell you, like, I haven't been to another hematologist or oncologist ever since. I went to my primary care doctor and I was like, I need a sleep apnea test. And this is where it gets kind of a little bit better to the story of spirituality, of just coincidences. I don't really believe in them. I was in a Zoom group and I didn't know anybody. Nobody knew my story. And I had just met the lady who was the host like maybe 3 or 4 days before. And they said something, and I was like, they said something about next week. And I was like, I'm probably not going to be here next week. I'm like, I'm kind of dealing with some stuff. There was a psychic in there. And I've never been to a psychic before. And he goes, my gods are telling me to tell you have been misdiagnosed.
Wow.
Exactly. So the other aspect
I
is
just got
like,
goosebumps.
yes. And so I had never been around someone that like claimed to be psychic or anything like that, but he just like took that out of the air. And I was like, okay. So my first confirmation was that. And then on April 17th, I got the results from my sleep study. Cause I think I went like maybe the week after I talked the psychic, got on the CPAP, 100% difference within 2 days. And so the mindset stuff, like the mindset stuff, I just want to say is like, I did hypnosis. And then that's really where my healing journey started, was like the CPAP, hypnosis, later on quantum healing, my mindset coach stuff, like all this stuff just kind of like happened in the process of healing.
I honestly don't know what to say because we can go in so many different directions here. Welcome to Self-Reflections, real people, real reflections. Whatever you're carrying, you don't have to do it alone. We're not just your average service. A space to come home to yourself one session at a time. A sanctuary where you feel seen, heard, and held. We meet you where you are, online or in person. Providing support across the lifespan from little ones to adults. Nurturing your mind, body, and relationships. Real people, real reflections. Book now at selfreflections.com. Besides relationships, is there any other things that you think this misdiagnosis led to missing out on in your life?
I'm sure there's a ton. I mean, probably business opportunities, who knows? Like, honestly, Klaudia, we could go and play the what if game all day long.
Sure.
Right?
And I
With
love
anything.
that you caught me there.
No, but I'm just saying,
because it is so easy for us to go down that avenue, right?
Right, absolutely. It's like, what would happen if I wouldn't have hurt my left knee? Like, I don't even look at that anymore. Like, I'm looking I'm looking for forward. I'm looking for momentum. Like, my momentum is so high. Like, I met someone yesterday who I thought was like, this is one of the best contacts I've ever had. I am not worried about what happens in the past anymore. What I'm worried about is, how can I take something that sucked, that was a negative, turn it into a positive, and be able to create an impact. That's what I'm about doing, because I could sit back and I could think about what if. I could think about if I had a wife, I had kids. Like, I'll go ahead and tell you, like, there was a girl I met 12 years ago, and I was like, if I was healthy, she would be the person that I would want to marry. Like, I felt like when I was a kid, like I would met the right person, but I didn't. That's the thing, is I did not. And that's okay. Everything is okay. I promise. Dwayne Morton will be perfectly fine. And I have that type of faith in myself, in my team, and just like when I got to meet you, right? There's all these things. I can't look at the past. Like, the past, like, I wish I could tell that boy whenever he he wasn't a boy, he's a young man. He was 29 years old when I got diagnosed. But like, I wish I could go back and just say, hey, it's okay. Like, it's going to be okay. Because the other aspect is, I realized that I have such a big purpose. The last thing that I would feel, this gives you my mindset. If something happened to me today, here's the thing. I don't want something to happen. I go up to heaven and I'm like talking to God. And he's like, you had such a bigger purpose, but I didn't fulfill it because I was scared. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to bless people. I believe in servanthood. Like, I believe in just doing good. And I feel like I have the chance to make an impact. Like, Klaudia, people see me as like an influencer. I don't even like the word influencer. I'm like, I inspire people. I'm an inspirer. Like, I don't want you to do something because I say do it. I want you to be inspired to go to the gym. And so I think the problem with today's society, youth, is that they don't have a purpose. And the purpose is right there, right in front of them. We just don't look. We're looking so far off. The other part of this, the past is I can't change it. If I could change it, then maybe. But guess what? I learned a lot of lessons. If I can't take those lessons, then I can't go and create this business with this new guy that I met today. Like, I can't create this stuff. Show up to win doesn't come out. Like, all these things, like, I'm more worried about making that impact.
Yeah. And I thank you so much for sharing that, Dwayne, because any one of us who have experienced challenges from the past, traumatic experiences from the past, we do sometimes, majority of us, get stuck in this loop, replaying, going back, focusing on missed opportunities. And I really love your message there because it helps us understand that it's okay to look back for the purpose of going forward and growing, but don't spend so much time in the past that it prevents you from taking the next step forward and the next step forward, no matter how hard those steps are, no matter how lonely or isolating or challenging, the next step is not always going to feel like that.
Right. Take the lesson. Like, that's it. That's what we need to do is take the lesson from it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Dwayne, being a bystander caught in the crossfire of a police shooting is naturally an unimaginable experience. Can you walk us through, if you're comfortable, what happened and how it impacted your life?
Oh, yeah. So it was different. And when I say it's different, is it happened in my small town of less than 5,000 people. Like, things happen in big cities like this, not there. So what happened was a criminal was detained, and apparently he did not get searched. The guy had a rope attached, like a knife attached on a rope around his neck, and he had a gun in his waistband. He was being questioned as he was being detained. They took him out for a smoke break. He takes the gun out from his waistband, shoots the officer, and the officer and the criminal were shooting, and I got caught in the crossfire. So in the background is this road, pretty busy road, and I just so happened to be taking my niece for ice cream. Klaudia, I don't know what the odds are. I have no idea what the odds are. I'm driving 45 miles an hour. A bullet hits the C-pillar of the truck. I normally do not drive the truck. For 2 weeks, I drove my dad's truck because I was told not to drive the SUV. I had a black SUV, and I just felt like I wasn't supposed to drive the SUV. And honestly, my dad was like, "Why are you driving my truck?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, I'm just putting gas in it. Don't worry about it." As I'm driving by, this bullet hits the truck, and so all these bullets came out. Or like, I don't really want to get into the negative part of the story. People can do their own research.
Of course.
So where the C-pillar is where the roof of the truck and the bed of the truck meet. It's that bar. So if that bar is not there, I'm not here or my niece in the back seat. And so one of the things when it happened, I knew from athletics, stay calm, control your breath. You have the little girl out there. You cannot freak out.
Wow.
The whole entire time, I did not freak out. I was like, I thought they would impound the truck. They ended up not. There's some other aspects of the story that gets a little bit deeper, which I will tell more in a book because I just don't want to give all the details and what I went through. But we found out all these things, these fragments of the story in my healing journey from the shooting. So every time I felt like I was getting ready to heal and like move on, another aspect of the story came out. The other thing is when I got out of the truck, I looked down. I'm looking like down at I'm actually even looking at the bed. I'm thinking, well, it hit the bed. And it wasn't until I started walking back and I was like, I know it hit the truck, maybe it hit underneath. And then I saw the bullet hole and where it was, and it was head high. And I was like, wow. And so I park at a local dealership and people were coming out, and there was people come out and they're like, dude, you don't know how lucky you are. You need to go buy a lottery ticket. And so just to give you an aspect is like for a couple of days, I don't have one right now, but like there's a water bottle, how it pops. I almost broke my nose because I was sitting there playing video games or something like that, and a water bottle popped. And I just was like, I made this like, and I hit the wall. My brother had just mowed the lawn and was washing the grass off of the lawnmower. And so can you imagine, this is a day afterwards, and you hear all those water beads hitting the metal, pop, 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 pop. And I dove into the ground. I'm like, so I was dealing with PTSD and survivor's guilt. Other thing, Klaudia, is I have friends who have like done tours in Iraq and very big military people, done some serious stuff. So I was like, that was the first person I called. I said, hey man, I need to talk to you. And I was like, man, what do you do when you get shot at? Like, how do you feel? Like, he's like, dude, I've never been shot at. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And that's when it really hit me that like, oh no, like this is really big. Other aspect is I always felt like I was protected because I knew attorneys and I knew had friends who were attorneys. None of them could help me because they knew the officer who got killed. So there was a conflict of interest. The other aspect is like, I can say this because I respect Australian media. Australian journalists will do whatever to get the truth out. There's an agenda at the time, anti-police, anti-gun. I'm neither. So I didn't want to give the media my story. Yeah. And guess what? I didn't give the media my story. I'm telling the people like how I'm doing it right now. I never once took that interview because I knew that like somebody would take my clip and they would twist it. And I was like, nope, this is mine. And so the other part of it, Klaudia, is I was going through talk therapy a ton. Like I think it was twice a week. So I'm a big believer in talk therapy. I'm a big believer in talk therapy when it works. It wasn't working for me. And it actually made some of it worse, actually. And so it took after when I got misdiagnosed and I was dealing with both. I met a man who is a master hypnotist and he helped me. And the first time I worked with him, I'm able to come on here and talk to you on like a podcast and I could go take a nap right after. It's like everything alleviated to like zero. It's a complete like neutral. So I feel like that is also another part of my story is I can tell you that if you have a trauma that you are unable to deal with, get help, but like get help that actually takes care of the solution, not just the symptoms. Because everybody wants to give you a pill. I took the pills for a little bit and I was like, man, this don't really work for me. This isn't how I want to roll.
And Dwayne, thank you so much for sharing such an incredible story and even your capacity to be able to recall it and still stay calm. And I can notice that, you know, you're able to go back to scenes of the incident, but your nervous system is regulated, which only highlights how much work you have been able to do to process the trauma and be able to now talk about it in a way that you still remember it, but it's not then being dysfunctional in the body where it creates dysfunction in your life. So thank you so much for sharing that. And you are absolutely correct. When we experience any traumatic event, especially if we're looking at the big T trauma, so any really extreme traumatic incidents, there are going to be different therapies that do different things for different people. And I love that you trialed something and acknowledged to yourself that this isn't working, that this is supposed to be working. And I want to encourage our community that if a therapy is not getting to the cracks of the underlying issues and helping you and you're not seeing progress, it is really important that you empower yourself to go find someone. And it sometimes might be a bit of a challenging journey because you're having to trial different things, different therapies, different clinicians. But in doing so, you can then connect with someone who is able to see you, hear you, and have the adequate skills to be able to help process the trauma in a way where it doesn't get re-triggered and create a complete dysregulation of you and then dysfunction in your life. So thank you so much that not only were you able to share the incident in such detail, how it impacted you, but also then the journey that you needed to take to create, I guess, a pathway of recovery for yourself.
Absolutely. So this other aspect, very new to me. If you ask me how to do it scientifically, I don't know. And when I say that is like the how part, I'm not worried about it. I worry about allowing it. So I met this lady. Her name is Victoria Rader. She owns You to Shine. I knew her as only a friend. I didn't know her as like this world-renowned like quantum healing expert. She's friends with Dr. Joe Vitale. she's actually going to be in a movie in February with Dr. Joe Vitale. And so through this relationship, she was telling me about an app that she does, and like they have an initiative they're attempting to get 1 million people to use this app. And so I want to give this to your listeners. The other aspect about Victoria is like, I feel like that's where my healing journey got way, way smoother. Everything changed for me. The other part is when you meet somebody who you just like, they love you, they care so much about you, and they know you're meant for so much more. And so she poured into me. But also, like, when you find out that, like, oh, she's not only a friend, but like she really knows her stuff. And so through this app, through biometrics, like you're able to have, I look at it every day, and it tells like different things through your biometrics, like what you're wanting and what you need. And so there's like these different meditations, but that's really, Klaudia, like what really I feel like has gotten me to this point in this last 3 or 4 months was using their app. And so I'll tell that, I'll give you that link for the viewers. But they have this initiative of 1 million people. And when I met, they had, I think it was like 200,000 people had downloaded the app. So there's like, it's really cool. But like, I just wanted to say, when you're able to get help from someone who really knows what they're doing, you have to listen, because some reason you cross paths. And so like, I love that woman. Like, she's such an amazing person. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things is like, part of my journey was I want to help people. What does she want to do? She wants to help people. But here's the other aspect is when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a doctor. I just didn't want to go to school all those years. So I wanted to be a basketball player and a doctor. I started hanging around a bunch of healers and nutritionists. Oh, I know overseas I can say this is like natural doctors. Like over here we can't, so I forget. Like, but so that's the thing is like you just never know. And so I realized, hey, like I'm supposed to be a healer or a doctor or something like that. And so I feel like that is really important. It's through this journey it allowed me to realize that my little inner child was like, hey, we want to be a healer or a doctor. We don't want to do this. Like, we don't want to just be a basketball player.
And it's important that you actually, through your journey, were able to reshape what truly gives you meaning and purpose. And it's through trial and error and through our connections and our ongoing development and education and building of knowledge and also curiosity. I think it's so important for us to stay curious over being critical. And it sounds like you've been able to really connect with a pathway that aligns with what feels right for you, how you want to be of service to others. And through that, then continue your own healing journey as well, And I love that you were able to actually share who more recently was such a pivotal piece to your healing journey. And I think when we look at clinicians and their ability to hold space, I very much thought I was trauma informed in my early career, and I, hand on heart, probably knew nothing. And through my own education and patience and also connection with my clients, I believe my clients are the biggest teachers in how to hold someone in their vulnerability and their trauma and their recovery, and being able to acknowledge that being trauma informed and helping someone through their journey of any sort of trauma, whether it is really intense, incredible experiences, or whether it's the smaller traumas that we can experience day to day, it's important for us to know that everything does, at the core of it, need connection and nurturance. And that's what it sounds like you were able to receive from that bond of yours, and then also be able to use tools like that app to be able to then strengthen that journey for you. So we want to kind of highlight that it's this multifaceted experience where it's not just the tools we engage in. It's not just the things we tick off the boxes to say that we do. It's a lot of self-reflection. It's a lot of connection with community, connection with ourselves, as well as then the use of the tools. Thank you for sharing that. So, Dwayne, how has your actual personal journey influenced the way you work with athletes on mental performance these days?
Love the question. Thank you. So, show up to win is about showing up with intention. So I tell people, I don't just show up. Like, I'm showing up to win. I practice like it's a championship game, so the championship games just feel like practice. And so for me, I teach people how to overcome adversity through unlikely and untimely circumstances. So for me, I want to work with either athletes or ex-athletes. So there's two ways that you can work with me. One is have a problem at your, like, some type of adversity, but I want someone that doesn't want to do the minimum. I want someone who actually wants to actually light that fire within and be inspired. So for me, when I had my knee surgery, they told me to only do 50 leg raises. And I was like, no, man, I'm not doing 50 leg raises, 150. So that's the type of mindset that I would like people to come in and be like, hey, I'm willing to like do more. I like people who are unwilling. I like people who are willing to do things that other people are unwilling to do. And so for me, I have the program Show Up to Win, which is completely online, where I teach the regular Joe. And then I have the other part of the program that can be online or in person, where I'm looking at elite athletes. And so the very first aspect that I do with athletes is I let them know there's two sides of the coin, and you can take it the way you want to look at it. But most of the time, as an athlete, there's 50% of the people that love you, 50% of the people hate you. But that's not really true, because usually their family or themselves, they love themselves more. But like for me, as a spiritual person, God loves them more than anything. And so I let them know whether you hit the shot, you lose the game, you win the game, all of that's not important. It's about knowing that the sun comes up and the sun goes down every day.
No.
Those are facts, right? So I get them to think about the truth and the facts. And then I go and I find out the wording that they use. So I'm working with a young man right now. He's a phenomenal basketball player. I believe that he has the potential to play in the NBA. I've known his dad for a long time. He's an incredible, incredible kid. I sat down with him and I told him, I said, I want you to change your perspective about your knowledge of basketball. And he was like, man, I know basketball. I was like, man, listen, you're learning the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that switch, turn it a little bit. I am learning how to play basketball. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, they were all students of the game, and they always stayed students of the game. And so just that little switch, and then he was like, things are easier for him. He's playing better. And that's the thing is I'm taking these athletes and I'm finding what their little hiccup, and I'm taking my little twist, and I'm using words and giving them where they understand like these steps. But I'm looking for people who want to play on big stages, big arenas. And I feel like the thing is with athletes is they feel they're so loved or hated. Either some of them feel like they can't do it wrong, but they don't understand that they either don't understand how much of a slippery slope it is and what type of mindset they have to be prepared. Because most athletes up to a certain point, especially high school, they're more focused on the physical part of the game, like just the drills and taking care of their body. They don't worry about their mind. They're not focused on their mind. I get them to flip the switch to where they focus on the brain just as much. And I teach them visualization. I teach them like how to go through situations and opportunities. So when those situations and opportunities, they're fine. They have the experience and the confidence to do their thing.
Dwayne, I really like where you actually said, you become a student of the game. And I think that is such a fantastic way to even look at how we can be a student to life, right? It's I think, universal, where it doesn't have to just be athletes getting good at understanding and studying the game that they are playing. I think that's a great message that we can take from this episode for individuals, and especially in context of your story. How can we be a student to our own life, take the lessons that, that are learnt from our experiences to then help better our capacity to play at life. And I think that resonated with me in what you've just mentioned there, and how that can be so universal and applied to so many different individuals in different facets of their life.
Yeah, so that's the thing is sports, even music. I mean, all kinds of these things. Like, there's a reason that they're like these leagues and clubs for youth. I believe those clubs and leagues, all these little things that happen in youth, really, I really stress that 1 to 8 year old. That's where probably 90% of like learning happens. But those fundamentals, you can apply those to life. I believe like so much you can apply pretty much any principle to life. It's just being able to take that perspective, that 6 to 9, walk across the circle and look at it and be like, oh, I see this differently. And there is nothing more enjoyable than being able to get someone to walk across the circle, look at it differently, the light bulb come on, and you're on the front seat. You're in the front row, and they're like, I can't believe it, coach. Like, I had this happen. I believe that's why we coach. I truly believe it. Like, for me, is like, I want nothing more than every person to come into me and have like this life-changing thing. But what I love about it is I got the front row seat. I get to see them go from this to this. And that's the most rewarding thing for me. It's not about the money.
Agreed.
It's about seeing them and how it changes their belief because they changed their experience. And that's why we do our thing, Klaudia.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, you know, on reflection in what makes me do what I do, it's at the top of that list is being able to be side by side to someone's journey of growth and them seeing how far they have come. And it may be the tiniest of improvements or growth, but I think it's then the sense of pride that they have within themselves, and then the confidence that they start to develop in their own capacity to move through some of the darkest times in their life. And that is such an honor in anyone who works with anybody else and provides a service. So I think, we very much align with that. Dwayne, you mentioned faith as a cornerstone of your resilience. And this is a kind of two-part question. And I am mindful that some of our community might not necessarily have a lot of faith or have different types of faith. So I'm just trying to be mindful of that as well. But how has your faith evolved through the experiences? And what advice would you actually give someone who might be struggling in their mindset or with their faith while also facing adversity?
Great question. Yeah, like a really great question. But I think the other part is like, I see the wind. No, I don't. I feel the wind. I feel my faith. I feel my faith. I can't see it. I know it's there though, just like the wind. And I think if you look at that, same thing as like with the wind. I see it when it blows through the leaves of the tree. I see it, the flag. I see the effects. Same thing. I see the effects in people. So people who are struggling with their faith, they don't have faith, they're probably pretty empty inside. They're also like their circumstances, their probably their circle of friends, there's like some betrayal. And so here's the thing is faith doesn't betray you. You betray your own faith. And I say that because it's like I did the same thing through the diagnosis and stuff. I stopped looking and being like, oh, I'll get through it. There was just a point where it was just like, okay, I have to be content. What I wish I would have done, and this is the hindsight part I don't like to talk about, was I wish I would have took that time to prepare. Holy smoke. What if I would have taken and done all the personal development that I acquired over the last year? And trust me, there was a ton. I read, I listened to audiobooks. I like got better every day. Every single day in like long periods of time. I had 18 years to do the same damn thing and I didn't. There was parts where I did my personal development. I worked on my mindset, but it wasn't like I was doing it. I did it consistently and then I quit because I got a setback. Here's the thing is like for the people at home, I did this and I had to overcome something else. What is stopping you? You are a healthy person. When you start looking at it that way, our problems are smaller. We have to trust something. Trust that faith. The people around you, the people. Understand you have a team. And you might not understand you have a team. Because guess what? Your team might not even freaking appear yet. But you have a team that at some point you're going to meet. And those people are going to bless you so much. I tell people all the time, I met a lot of wonderful people. Some people were here for seasons. Some people were here for a couple of seasons. And then there's like some of these people who I feel like are here for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Some of my best friends I don't even talk to anymore. And here's the thing is like I outgrew them. I had to leave. We had to leave each other. They had other things that they was more important. They had prioritized different things. Same thing with me. I have to prioritize things differently. Life is life. Life is life. Things happen. Situations happen. Circumstances happen. You can either go through it or bow to it. And Klaudia, I got tired of bowing to it. And when I was healthy, I was like, guess what? I'm going back to how I was as a 29-year-old man. I want to be the same weight. I want to be the same. I want to be able to run the same, all those type of things. And I'm close. I'm very, very close. And that's what I want. I want to be back to like that 29-year-old man. Hey, they took this from me. I'm going to take it back. I'm taking my power back, and then I'm going to create my impact.
I love the empowering aspect of that, because you're not trying to push anything down anyone's throat. It's try to find what you see as faith. Is it in your people? Is it in your community? Is it in the things that you do? Is it in yourself? And if it is lacking, why is it lacking? What are the barriers that are getting in the way to prevent you to connect to a force that is then going to establish purpose and meaning for yourself? And that is going to look so different for everybody, you know? And I love that you were able to share your own personal experiences of that. And we want to share with our community as well that that is going to be unique to you. So while Dwayne has definitely shared aspects of his journey and what that looks like for him, what you do is what then feels right for you. But I think those underlying frameworks on what's important there and how you can find it and what it feels like are just some starting points for our community to be able to just look within themselves and see what's there. And if they can connect with that, amazing. So thank you again for sharing that with us, Dwayne. As we're moving, I guess, to the kind of wrapping up of our episode today, are there any lessons that you've actually learnt from your experiences that you think like everyone could benefit from? What do you think they could be?
Begin. You don't have to be prepared. Just begin. So what I would like to say is I'm a very strategic person. So there's these things I feel like are essential, especially when you're coming through, is like find a mentor, build a plan, get a mentor. Either way, one of those, like, I don't care how they are, like, you're going to need it either way. You can plan first. You're going to need a mentor, or you're going to have a really good mentor and you need a plan. I feel like those are the two really big things, is like you need someone when life gets challenging, because guess what? You don't have all the answers. You do not have the answers. You're not supposed to have the answers. That's why we need a community. Klaudia, that's why I built my community, because I couldn't find that community when I was searching for it. So once I got healthy, I knew what people needed. So I created the Show Up to Win community, because I needed something to keep me consistent. So I created a community to keep me consistent, but I also knew the community needed to be kept consistent. And as you know, those small changes lead up to really big things.
Yeah. And I like that framework because we often get stuck in inaction, and I do too. You know, I'm beautifully human. But I like the very simplistic way of just begin, you know, just go and do something. It can be the tiniest little thing. And I love that you've also connected to the idea that, normalizing the fact that we're not supposed to have all the answers, and being connected to people that do. And it might not just be one mentor. You might have multiple people in, your circle, or even in your ring, on your side of the ring, trying to kind of empower you and teach you and help you through the journey. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to learn from each other to better our own experience and strengthen our own view of how to navigate this thing we call the human experience, right? So I really do resonate with what you've just said there.
Yeah, so I think a tribe, community, I'm a simple person. So like, I just like to look at like ancient civilizations. What did they have? What did they need? That's my basic needs. Anything else, like we've became too complex. We've tried to complex stuff that's really simple. And I think that once you realize that, and you can realize all of that stuff is a distraction to keep you, I mean, it's just like Dwayne's daily plan of attack. It's 4 core principles. It's it. You don't have to do what I do. You don't have to stretch. Your self-care could be something else. Like being grateful, like your gratitude part, you can do that in a different way. I choose my way. Klaudia, you choose your way. Like, and I think I think that's what's beautiful about human being.
Mm-hmm.
We have choices.
It's having the ability choice. That's it. I was just about to say that. Yeah. You're right. It is the ability to have so much available to us. And I sometimes know that that's where we might get overwhelmed. And because there's so much available to us, we're kind of sometimes stuck in that inaction of like, yeah, but which choice is going to be the right one for me at this point in time? Honestly, it does not matter, because it's not going to be one thing that's all of a sudden going to, create this phenomenal change for you. It's going to be tiny, multiple little things over and over and over again that do then create the progress that we see on those growth journeys. Yeah. Dwayne, how do you define success now compared to earlier in your life, particularly before those events? And I want to kind of sideline this question with acknowledging that it's not just success in a professional setting, like emotional success and, mindset success. How do you kind of connect to what that looks like for you today compared to when you were younger?
Yeah, this is powerful. So for the little kid, it was just like make the basketball team, like make this, do this, right? Success for me now is more about the impact I have. I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave a program that creates positive change. But also, like, I'm looking at creating a nonprofit, and I promise the nonprofit is going to be something so impactful that, like, people are going to be like, why didn't someone think about to do this now? Like, why didn't someone else think about it? I don't believe in handouts. I believe in hand-ups. And I promise my nonprofit is going to be a hand-up. And it's going to be part of the story. I'm just not going to tell it now. It's like, I'm going to wait to tell it. But it's going to be so nice to be able to be able and say, this is why I created it. I created it for you.
Thank you for sharing that. And success, I guess, will look different at different points in our life, the age we are, who is around us, what we're influenced by. And I like that you have connected to being of service. And when we are of service, it's a dual process. We are able to help individuals and make them feel seen and connected and loved and valued. And we, as a byproduct, also then feel empowered and caring and connected and valued as well. So it, that in itself is a really beautiful way of looking at success. Thank you. What is your message or mantra that you actually live by that keeps you grounded and motivated, Dwayne?
So there's show up to win. Like, there's one. Mm-hmm. Do unto others as you wish that you would have others do unto you. Golden rule. Like, all these different simple things, like, we've heard those a million times. And here's the thing is, that's going to impact somebody else differently. So this is one thing I tell people all the time. If I speak in front of 1,000 people and 999 boo me off the stage, but one person doesn't commit suicide and they like change their life, it's worth it. This is why we do our thing.
Absolutely.
This is why we do our thing, though. Like, I'm not looking for notoriety. I'm not a spotlight person. I have an ego, but I'm not ego-driven. I'm purpose-driven.
And thank you so much for your vulnerability in today's episode. I think, when we highlight some really traumatic experiences and the paths that we can take, it doesn't mean that path of recovery is always going to be with immediate resilience and immediate feel good. There's struggles, there's challenges, and through this episode, we want to acknowledge and normalize that experience, but also give people some light that there is a chance to grab onto and build resilience within yourself. And no matter how you come about doing that, whether it is through the people you've already connected with, people you're going to meet along the way, your own work that you do on yourself, all of those things are important to continue engaging in to then develop a sense of recovery and a sense of growth within yourself. Dwayne, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our community before we wrap up for today's episode?
So I do have a signature program I'm going to talk about. Show Up to Win. If you go to showuptowin.info, so showuptowin.com will be open on February 1st. As we're recording this, I don't know the date. So you can go there, put the contact information, and there's a phone part. If you put your phone number, I might just call you. I might just ask, like, hey, how can I be assistance? I'm that type of person. So I have that program. I'm just building. That's it. To build what I want, I feel like I started out with a tent. The tent turned into a house, but guess what? I have to deconstruct it to reconstruct other things. And like, I want to live in a castle. I believe I don't just want to say this because I think a lot of people don't understand the scope. We're abundant creatures. We are an abundant creation. I am supposed to have the things that I want. I'm supposed to live abundantly. I want a lot. I'm going to have a lot. And that's not material stuff. That's like relationships and things like that. I'm here for a purpose, but I'm showing up for intention. I'm growing this community for the people. You can follow me on my socials. My socials are very low because I had to prepare myself to heal so I was able to take care of everyone else.
I love that message, honestly, Dwayne, because majority of individuals go into the field of helping others while they've got so much in their own personal life going on. And it's not to say you can't be of service, but it is so hard when you are sacrificing and taking care of other people, but then not giving yourself anything. And the fact that you delayed being of service to others until you felt like you were able to heal your own journey and come to a place of genuine strength to then be able to give to others while also having a strength to give to yourself is actually a really powerful message that majority of us don't remember when we are of service to others. So thank you so much for sharing that. And you're right, I will add all of the details to getting in contact with Dwayne as well as all his resources in the description below. So please head on down to the description and leave any comments. If you have any questions for Dwayne that you would like me to pass on, I'm more than happy to. And if there's anything else that you would like Dwayne and I to discuss in future episodes, please put them in the comments below, as we're always open to reconnecting and providing our community with exactly what it is that they need and that they are after. Dwayne, it was an absolute honor to connect with you today and hear your vulnerable story. It sounds as though you've been able to face challenge head on and walk through the darkness and get to the other end of resilience and empowerment. And I do appreciate your time today to share your story and vulnerability on the Self Reflections podcast.
So thank you, Klaudia. Thank you for your listeners for giving me the opportunity to listen to my story in some part of your day. Klaudia, this is just the beginning, as I said. So I'm going to have to come back and tell you what I've done.
Yes, I'd love that. Absolutely. To our community, thank you for always tuning in. If this episode resonated with you or somebody else, don't forget to share it with anyone that might need it. Like, subscribe, or leave a comment, as we always love hearing from you. Until next time, take care and keep reflecting.